pretty much like that all day today. Spread fever. We're gonna be closed tomorrow because we're finally going to town report. Okay, so if you want to, and Thursday we have a workshop.
Okay, all right, we'll call this public hearing to order. And we're looking at proposed amendments to the water service protection ordinance, the sewer system ordinance, the rental housing ordinance, and the traffic ordinance. I love them all. You love them all? About any of those changes? Or have you read through them, or should we go through them? Sean, would you like, okay, Sean, would you mind going through the first ones?
Which one was the first one?
Water service protection?
Okay. So LD 2003 came out recently that allowed up to 4 accessory dwelling units. Up to 2 more accessory dwelling units in a high density growth area, which is all along that Castine, to build accessory dwelling units. Now, we have a standard in town in our zoning ordinance, which an accessory dwelling unit is 2 bedrooms, 1.5 bath, and living room, sitting room, no more than 1,000 gross square feet. Another zoning ordinance change is to make that scalable, where it'd be 1,000 gross square feet in on net cast or in village 1 and village 2, it would expand to 1,100 and then ultimately go to 1,200 off net. Simply put, there are portions of the infrastructure in Castine that may or may not be able to handle that increased load. We would put 4 accessory dwelling units or 4 more units, 2 bedrooms per, in portions of the town where we have 2-inch iron pipe carrying the water. We may not have the capacity for that development. So the only thing this states is before that development is approved, it must go through utility or technical review, which means Oliver Associates for engineering review, so that we can ensure that the towns has the capacity in both sewer and water to handle that increased development.
Thank you. Is there? Sean, would you care to discuss the sewer system ordinance?
Same, basically the exact same.
That's all the same, okay. How about rental housing?
Okay.
That's the meeting one.
Can I do something on
Yeah.
on the sewer system one, just to find out, I think. Sean, I think there's an edit that's needed on page 2, unless I'm misunderstanding something on the definition. But, yeah.
Yes.
It says any substance released into in a discharge at a rate and or concentration.
Sludge, maybe?
Is that sludge?
Sludge or
Or maybe I
sludge?
said it wrong, sludge. Any substance released into.
SLUDGE, maybe? Right, sludge.
Released earlier, came up, but.
Which definition are you in?
FLUG. Page 2 toward the bottom.
Oh, in the sewer ordinance, no, slug is. No, it is slow.
It is.
Slug. So as it reads, it just doesn't seem to make sense to me. Any substance released into in a discharge at a rate and or concentration.
I think the comes
Which,
Yeah.
so
or
what would
into
you
the
suggest for edits?
Substance into.
released in a
It's basically
discharge.
into the system. Slug is nothing more than a stoppage in
Yeah.
the system.
Yeah, Amy's just looking
So-
at the actual wording.
There's more words in there that's needed.
Yeah, I didn't touch that one, by the way.
Oh,
So that's
well,
that's something that you've been dealing with for a long
Well,
while.
let's that one while we fix it.
Well, why is it highlighted in yellow?
Right, that's what I thought. So I thought it was an amendment.
Probably because I meant to change it and I didn't get to it, so.
What would you recommend for?
Yeah, it's basically any substance released into the system at a discharge rate and or concentration which interferes with the operation of the wastewater treatment plant. It's something like Oh, I don't know, when we find a mop that somebody tried to flush down their toilet, that becomes a slug.
Okay. At a discharge rate, okay.
System.
Into the system.
So here.
Into the
At.
system
At a
as
discharge rate,
Right.
or, so the at a after discharge as well. Or constable.
Yeah, watch those YouTube videos and I see what they can put down.
Are you good on that, Sue?
Yeah.
Those items?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, and then the other one I had on page 7. On 5.3.4. Line 4, technical, just needs an end.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
And at a really micro level, I wasn't sure if that was the same font size as the other aspects of the ordinance. But I don't know.
Yeah.
That is.
So on to the rental housing.
Okay, in 2018, the town adopted a rental housing ordinance that required property owners that want to rent their properties to register, not, excuse me, to list their properties with the town. The administrative tail of that ordinance was such that you get 11, somewhere between 85 and 111 registrations per year come into town hall, with the output of that being to be frank, it was worthless. We ended up with a listing of emergency contacts and ensured that our fire department had an emergency contact for everyone who's renting in town. So we would go through this, week-long process of updating this registration, this listing for a change of maybe 5 names. And then, of course, there's the, you get 65 applications in by the deadline, so then you're calling the 65 to 111 up to, trying to, hey, are you still renting, or are you not renting, et cetera, et cetera. So we've had enough life safety issues with our rental housing stock in Castine that it requires something a little bit more than this. And instead of a listing with the town, this ordinance has been amended to read that you are now registering, you are going to be licensed by the town. That being said, if you license with the town, our performance standards in the zoning ordinance would then be applied, could be applied. And that would mean, while we don't have a noise ordinance, said again, we don't have a noise ordinance in town. We do have performance standards for those things that the town regulates, those noise performance standards. We don't have a noise ordinance, Sean. Those performance standards can be applied. So what this does is it requires property owners that are gonna rent in both a short-term fashion and a long-term fashion, short-term being defined as 28 days plus 1 day, and a long-term fashion, which is anything longer than that, up to including year-round lease, to register with the town, be licensed by the town, so that the town is aware of the properties that are being rented in the town, and we would be able to inspect said properties that are registered and licensed by the town. Inspections, the intent would be to inspect 25% of them a year. If we tap out at the top end of this ordinance, or what has been listed with the town in the past of 111, so I'm looking at somewhere between 25 and 30 inspections a year. Develop an inspection checklist. It'll be lean heavily on life safety issues. Do you have egress? Are the windows the proper size? Do you have fire extinguishers? Do you have smoke detectors, etc.? I'm not qualified, nor do we have anyone on town staff that is qualified to inspect electrical, so we can't inspect that. But there would be life safety issues that we could inspect in each one of these rental properties. And then along with that, there would be an increased fee. The fee right now would be $100 for a long-term rental. Forget what I wrote in there, 150 for 200 for short-term rental, and 300 for boat.
Yeah.
Right. That is simply I'm guesstimating that if we have 111 rental properties in town, we do 25 inspections per year. That fee structure would then pay for my time, so it would become, this would be revenue neutral on the town, so the CEO could. That was a question I needed some guidance on from the select board and the town manager on what that fee structure needs to look like. This is the back of the napkin math. If we tap out at 111 registrations, that's roughly, you're gaining about $15,000, 150 to, or $10,000 to $15,000, which I think would pay for the amount of time that would require to go out and do 25 inspections per year, 25 to 30 inspections per year. This just puts some teeth into our previous rental housing ordinance, which was, again, I found it was a great first step, but it was very administratively unwieldy for not a whole lot of payoff on the back end. And, oh, by the way, it did nothing to stop any sort of life safety issues for people around town that rent and are happy to cash those checks every month, but the kids are, I call them kids, the students largely, were not living in an appropriate place for habitation. You all have any questions?
Yeah. I think, I like the fee structure, and I think we can try it. And if we find that it doesn't cover the revenue that we need, we can.
That's kind of what I was, this is the start point, and I think that we're gonna have, after you get through a cycle of this in 1 year, then there will be more changes to this, because this is a mashup of Rangeley, Surrey, Farmington, Camden, our rental housing ordinance. Basically, I read through a bunch of them across the state to see what works, with a focus on those communities that might have a very similar dynamic than what you find in Castine, which is a large student population sitting right in the middle of town. So a ready-made market for people just to rent to students that maybe wouldn't come to town hall or anywhere else to complain if their habitation is not good. Also included in this is going to be an addendum, which is the tenant's bill of rights. Maine has an implied warranty on rentals that tenants should expect certain habitation, life safety issues that the landlord does take care of. It would also have included in there, Pine Tree Legal has a form that they put out, or a presentation that they put out. So part of this is to ensure that that packet, that tenant information packet, is in every one of these rentals, so that someone that is renting would be able to say, oh, no, I can see right here. I'm saying this with the understanding that the absolute overwhelming majority of all the rentals in town are just fine. We do have a few outliers that I don't want to be coming to the select board 5 years from now when some people end up dead and saying, oh man, if we'd only done something when. That's the issue. And we can start with it by moving forward with this.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Does anybody else have a question about?
Does this apply to all seasons, or what about just summer season versus year round? I recall, if I'm not mistaken, that a summer season was not part of this.
It wasn't part of the original. It wasn't part of the original. Both short-term and long-term, and that's why there's definitions in there of what is a short-term rental and what is a long-term rental. And then there's also a provision in the application that says, no, I'm gonna do both. You know, we have a baked-in market here where you might have students renting for 9 months a year, and then it's Airbnb'd out in the summertime when they're gone. Okay, so we're gonna have a provision in there for both. And the reason why I bumped the fee up on the both was only because not that that's really gonna move the needle all that much, but it's a start point to try to get us to where we actually have housing in town year-round, rental housing stock in town versus what we have now, which is You know, a family moves in here, they can't find rentals because for 9 months, they're students, and for the other 3 or 4 months, they're short-term rentals. So we don't have that year-round housing stock that we really require for workforce housing.
Doug?
So what standards are you gonna apply to the older houses in town that were built at a time prior to modern day life safety requirements? Are you gonna go around now, Sean, and require everybody to put fire escapes on the outside of their houses?
No, but you can require, and they should require specifically if they're renting. And that's state law, that they have adequate egress, that the windows are adequately sized for the egress. That they have fire extinguishers, and that's why I mentioned fire extinguishers.
Fire extinguishers are not even something the insurance companies want now. They don't want you to have fire extinguishers in the house.
You know,
They don't want you to have fire
fire
extinguishers, says that implies you should fight the fire. You want people to get out and not fight the fire.
So fire alarms, et cetera, et cetera. You know, that's where I'm saying, is heavy, I'm gonna weight this heavily on the life safety type of issues. And no, I don't think that there's any expectation that you're going to require a property owner, you know, is that egress staircase in a house that was built in 1800, 3 feet wide? Probably not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's gonna open up Pandora's box here. And the adverse effect would be that a lot of the units that people are living year round may not qualify.
Or might, we'd have to get into them to see, because frankly, no one's ever gotten into them, except for the property owners. Nobody's ever looked at them. I haven't. One time I ever look at a property to see whether those life safety issues are moderately adequate, is if I get called there.
That's not exactly true, because you went through a lot of buildings downtown and you went for the.
Yeah, that's one out of 111.
You went only through one building downtown, or you go through all the buildings?
No, I just went through one building when I was called by the state fire marshal saying, hey, we're coming into town to inspect the building because we're not in this water. And there was another
Probably went through all the buildings downtown.
We just went through one, because that was where the call was made to say, hey, we think there's some unsafe things, so the state fire marshal sent somebody out here to look. And then I got a call from another building in town, from the state fire marshal. There had been an anonymous complaint on another building in town, but that's 2 out of 111 over the last 6 years. I think we can do better.
I think so too. Pete?
Um,
I'm
I
sorry.
just had an insurance audit on my building and one of the things I had to do was hang my fire extinguisher. They have to be in there, but they have to be hung. I'm not sure who was talking back there, but I think that's right.
Oh, no, my insurance company made me take them all out, Scott.
Yeah.
They don't want anyone, they don't want them in there because
Give
they
me
don't
the
want
number for your
they want
agents.
So,
Okay.
you know, I'm still working on the inspection checklist, but I'm gonna go out to the MBOIA listserv and say, hey, we've got a good inspection checklist for rental housing, and see what I can come up with. But in my mind, you know, we gotta focus heavily on the life safety issues, and again, I can't inspect electrical. Again, the state of Maine licenses electricians, so there's an implied warranty by the state that if an electrician is doing work on a property and he or she has that qualification, that work is done to code. But life safety issues would be another one. Heating would be another one. You have a lot of people that will heat or that will rent a place that, you know, the bar is really not that high. A building to be rented only has to be heated to 68 degrees. If it's negative 20 outside, it has to be able to be heated at 68 degrees, 3.5 feet from the wall. And 3 feet up. That's not really that high of a bar, for a lot of places. So we just have to, you gotta check this stuff. You just have to check it.
All right, Pete, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna find many 36-inch egress windows in bedrooms around here.
Not 36-inch egress,
So windows are, the law requires that there be a 36-inch egress window in the bedrooms.
yeah,
So
5.7 square feet.
What is that a violation of a license, and are those people gonna be allowed to rent their homes, their older homes that don't have a egress window?
Well, it's gotta be 5.7 square feet, and I'd have to look at what that number is on what the width of the window has to be.
36 inches.
36 inches, that can't be more than, I wanna say, 40 inches off the floor. But I'd have to, I don't know.
You know, those are modern codes, and these are all older homes. My mom's house, 1917, doesn't have any 36-inch windows in it. Most neighbors would never put a 36-inch window in their house because they're colder.
And I believe that there is an addendum to the state law that gives that grandfathers in older homes as well. Scotty and I were going through that, on the Four Flags building. Yeah, I think it was on your list, that says that the windows don't have to be, if a home was built before a certain date, the windows don't have to be that big.
Thank you, Sean. This is important that we take care of the people that rent in town. It's important that we take care of the students. I mean, we've heard stories of students, they wouldn't make a complaint, but we've heard stories of students who were in a home renting their bedroom, and if they shut their bedroom door, they had no heat. Because there was no heating anything into that room, and that's not right. We have to make sure that they're safe, so.
If I can add one thing, Roberta. So we have over the last couple of years also had houses that were converted without permits from single family residences to duplexes. And another apartment ADU put in there, and suddenly the house went from a 3-bedroom with a septic system that's sized for a 3-bedroom to an 8-bedroom. Without anybody knowing about it. And oh, by the way, the electric box was heating so much that you could put your hand on the thing and it would almost burn you. Fire department went out twice because the breakers kept going. Now we've got that under control. However, I don't want to find out about this when the house is burning. I don't want the fire department to find out about this when the house is burning. I'd rather find out about it beforehand. That's the intent of this.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Can I just say, so this is a reminder to everybody, these 3 amendments to these ordinances that we just reviewed is what is gonna be brought up at the town meeting on Saturday, June 7th. The town voters vote to approve these amendments to happen to these 3 documents that we just reviewed.
Our final proposed amendments are to the traffic ordinance, and it's one amendment to make Water Street one-way from Main to Spring Street for the summer this year. But let's try it, because we need to put the Jersey barriers in to protect people from going over the sides when they come down their driveways and etc. And if we have the Jersey barriers in and the rocks, we won't have room. There just won't be room for 2-way traffic, and it won't be safe for the fire department. So we would like to make it one way, try it this summer. And I had somebody call and suggest today that we set a date for when we're going to revert it. And should that be right after Labor Day, or should it be October 1st? I don't know, but we should probably make a decision.
I don't know if you should revert it back. To be honest with you, that's part of the problem. You're gonna be pretty narrow once we get those in there, because we're probably not gonna end up Jersey barriers, because it's gonna cost too much, so we may be using 2x2x4
Okay. I think
blocks with like
people
3
are
feet in
concerned
between them.
about the winter, that, you
Yeah.
know, we have so little traffic in the winter that perhaps it could be, but.
And I also suggest we move no parking to the land side, and then the parking will be on the ocean side. Yeah.
Makes no sense.
I think we should parking on the land. Why do we want parking on the ocean side?
Because it gives you a little flexibility to get around there versus the other side. Because you could have one car park on the left and literally shut down the road. You wouldn't be able to use the shoulder or anything else to get around, depending on how wide the vehicle is. Because it's not gonna be that wide once we get done. So
Yeah, that's what I'm.
I am, but the bank, where these are going to be partially on the shoulder and partially on the pavement, so it's gonna eat up a portion of the pavement in some areas. But, and then you do that, somebody parks right in that spot, then you're going to have a problem. But we can look at that once they get into place.
Okay, we're just
That-
gonna worry.
I would
about
just worry about it right now.
One way.
Yeah.
Scott, did you have a comment?
People are gonna have a lot easier time to park on the uphill side, cause they got room. They're not up against the Jersey barrier trying to open the door and all that
True.
stuff, so they're gonna sit out in the middle of the road in order to get out of the vehicle. I would suggest that you go on the other side of the road where they can get away from and leave room enough between the Jersey barrier and the parked car for fire to get through. And then the other thing I would do with me, I would just say, we don't know when we're gonna stop it, or we'll be back there. We may or may not.
We'll see how it
We're gonna
goes,
try it out
and
for the
we'll,
summer,
and we'll
but
revisit
I wouldn't
it,
put a date on it.
we'll revisit it at the end of the season. Okay,
Cause whenever we do, don't forget, we're gonna have signs that we need to
Yeah,
take down and
that's
everything
true.
else to
Okay.
properly sign this thing.
all right, and then we can revisit it. Go for it, I'm sorry.
Green Street, if I'm not mistaken, is already, it's already been a no drive zone, so to speak, for tractor trailers. And when this new ordinance comes in, is that gonna go away? Because many times there have been 40-foot trailers trying to make that corner at the bottom of our street, and they get, they get jammed up. So are they gonna be required to go all the way around up Spring Street and back out Port Street to get out? Okay, well, I make sure that's,
Thank you, yeah.
it's been posted in the past, but I don't know that.
We'll
Right,
wait.
pays
We'll have to make sure that that's posted properly, but, yeah, that would be terrible.
Yeah, you might wanna review where it would start and end.
Yeah, okay. Well. So. Because I was thinking it would start at Maine and it would end at. Spring.
That was the
Right.
question I
Okay.
had about the ordinance,
Yeah.
because the way I read it, Water Street is one way eastbound from Main to Spring. And Spring Street up to the intersection at Court. But I'm concerned because I think we need to have two-way traffic coming down Spring, because we have people who have to be able to get to Main
Right,
Point.
from Port, yeah, we were gonna make it just. thought
I
we
don't
were
know
gonna
if you
make
can do it.
just to
You're,
Spring.
who's gonna let every car that goes the wrong way turn around in their driveway? You're gonna get complaints is the problem there. If you try
So
to
if you
do that,
make-
there's no cul-de-sac, there's no hammerhead to turn around. I've looked at even like using the water department driveway, but you're probably gonna end up having to do a culvert there because you're gonna encourage something to go down there that isn't gonna have an easy time turning around.
So
Like
if you
a
have,
trailer truck.
if I understand you, if we have one-way traffic going up Spring,
Yeah,
How the
do
mail,
people only get to Mayo Point, I guess, by going down?
they'll have to
by
go
going
down
Water
Dyer or
around,
Green or Main. Yeah,
And come along Water that way.
yeah.
okay, well, I don't know.
And that's gonna push traffic onto Green and Spring Street also, so you gotta keep that in mind, no matter what we do, really.
I was hoping we could end it that spring, but.
Well,
Right there.
that's not really gonna help the traffic for most of the people coming down, cause now they're gonna travel from Court down to Spring, and then all of a sudden,
Well, we
It's
talked about,
dead end,
we
or
talked
it's-
about having
can't
signage though
go.
that says.
Yeah.
right,
You think that you could put a sign like headed down Court Street that says one way ahead, no turnaround? And sort of so that people could.
Right,
turn around,
well-
You know, the pollution control facility.
that's
Or,
one of the things
you know,
I'm
right
looking
in-
at, like even at the State Street and Court Street to say, dead end, no outlet or
Yeah.
something like that on that, to warn people before they go.
No right turn in the Court Street.
Right, at
Pretty
Spring,
simple.
right, but people are gonna be able to take a right if it's open down to those first few
If
driveways.
On Mayo Point.
Roberta,
Yep, up.
as a Mayo Point resident, I would like to, vote against making Spring Street one way. That's gonna be a real inconvenience for a number of people who live on Mayo Point. Right now, we come down, Court Street and get on Spring Street and go home.
Right,
Now you're asking us to travel all
Yeah.
over the place.
right,
And I don't see where Spring Street being one way is really an advantage. What's wrong with leaving it a two-way street?
well, that's what we're talking about, we're talking about if we make Water Street one way to Spring Street at the bottom, right?
Right,
And then on Court Street, we have signs that say one way ahead, dead end, whatever, so that people know that if they turn down Spring Street, they're not going to be able to go down Water Street. But they can still go down Spring Street to get into Mayo Point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, he was.
Was he asking something different? Was, okay. So,
It can work, it's just Google Maps and Waze and everything else are not gonna cooperate with certain people. It's why you end up with trailer trucks on snowmobile trails and stuff like that. So don't be surprised if we
Okay,
get a
alright.
trailer truck
Well,
down there and the fire department gets called to help turn it around or back it back up there.
let's get.
Hopefully it won't happen, I just know it will, because they're gonna follow that and it's going to become a problem.
Well, let's
But-
give it a try. It's our first season. We have to
What are
change
we
it.
giving, what are we giving?
Take one way to Spring Street at the bottom.
Where? Which driveway are we talking, like,
Curtis,
that's gonna be.
He's not here.
Cause that's gonna be the driveway that gets all the
Yeah,
complaints, and
sure
people are
is.
turning around in it, they go, why the hell are these people turning around in my driveway? I'm gonna be, cause it's two-way down to there and we have no other way to
But
do
we
it.
can't use the water facility?
We could, but we can try that one. I mean, yeah. That's probably the only public spot that you have.
I think the best place to turn around is just the curve where it turns into Spring, out the court in Spring, you know, that's the best place.
Have you practiced that maneuver yet?
Oh, yeah, Scarlet. Done?
Just an FYI, and during the summer, when all the tourists are in town, many people drive down Court Street thinking they're heading out of town, they miss State Street and they go, oops, and they turn around in my driveway. It happens all summer long, and I don't mind.
Alright,
Okay,
good, see?
alright, thank you.
So Dawn is saying it's not a big deal if they turn
The
around.
sign saying turn here.
Okay. Well, if you go up there, I've many times done a U-turn up in Court and near the treatment plant, that's fine there. I'm saying once you get down on the Spring, then you're probably not going to. But we'll figure it out. Well, I'll oversign it. People will think this is the big city down there.
So should we remove that last phrase?
Yes.
After the semicolon?
Alright,
So it just says Water Street is one way eastbound from Main Street to Spring Street.
Yeah,
Period.
period.
wherever Spring starts, it's a magical line, kind of like in Boston when you're driving, these streets change names for no reason.
Oh, stop it.
Okay, does anybody else have a comment about, the traffic ordinance? That we will be voting on today, so. If there's anything else, please say. All right. Then, I will accept a motion to end this public hearing.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Thank you. Thank you all. All right, and now I will call the Monday, May 5th, 2025 Select Board meeting to order. And you have a quorum, and you and I are here. I do have a deletion to the agenda. I would like to delete the application for license for an incorporated civic organization, the Trinitarian Church.
Both of them?
Both of them because I have to recuse myself from that vote,
Yes, okay.
and so we need to wait for Dan to.
Got it.
So table it, I
So if we
guess.
could table that until the next select board meeting, please. I apologize. I wasn't thinking about that. Okay. So the first thing that we have is warrants. We have a general fund warrant in the amount of $48,037.68. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I'll second. Discussion? Anything? Okay, I'll just say that this covers 49 bills from 30 different vendors. And some of the exciting things that it covers are getting the dock bathrooms ready for the season. Elevator maintenance at Emerson and the library, our cleaning services for Emerson and the library. And our new animal control officer, Nina Desmond, took her first class the first classes in animal control, so. Okay, all in favor? Aye. We have a water department warrant for $15,864.59. I will move that amount.
Yes, so moved.
Or second? Okay, is there any comment? Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you. All right. And now we will approve minutes. The previous meetings. All right, first is the minutes from Tuesday, April 29th. This was an executive session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I'll second. All in favor? Aye. The minute from the work session on Monday, April 28th.
We want to move that we approve.
Okay, I'll second. I'll second. Right, all in favor? Aye. All right. And then the select board meeting minute from Monday, April 28th. I'll move that we approve those minutes. Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. And then we have the select board work session minutes from Monday, April 14th. I'll move, we accept those.
Yep, so, second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. And finally, we have the select board meeting minutes from Wednesday, April 23rd. I'll move that we accept those minutes. The 23rd, good start. Good, okay. All right, second, thank you, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, Sue, for keeping out of that. All right, we have no old business. New business, the first thing on new business is to accept the traffic ordinance amendment of making Water Street one way from Spring, here we go, from Main to Spring.
Eastbound.
Eastbound, all right. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All right, I'll second. Is there any further discussion? All right. All in favor of this try? Aye, let's give it a try and please give us input throughout the season. If it's not working, we need to know. Yep.
Do we still need to make spring a dead end? To be like official? Cause you got Water Street one way, but I'm thinking Spring Street needs to be a dead end too. So you probably wanna make that a dead end
Okay,
down at one, right on the corner.
so we need to add that.
I think so, and then I can put, I'm just thinking I'll put dead end, no outlet up by Court Street, and then I'll do it right at the watershed, and then they can turn around
So
there.
can we
if they
do
can
that now, or do we have to have another public hearing?
I'll ask town clerk for that one. I think, no, it's not written, we've talked to, I think they were both on there, right?
I mean,
Right.
even though the discussion didn't technically say dead end, it talked about, just having traffic.
One way all the way through, so yeah.
And make Spring Street a dead end at
Yep.
water. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, all right.
Alright,
Okay, so we received, a resignation from the zoning board of appeals, from Mike Hogland. And, I would like to make a motion that we appoint Bob Friedlander to the zoning board of appeals. Second. Is there any conversation or any discussion?
I'd love to thank Mike for his service.
Yes, oh, yeah,
I don't know if Mike is.
Mike's not.
Mike is not, but Bob
But
is.
Bob is.
Yes,
Okay.
in advance, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome
Yeah.
before we vote. Okay, all right, well, all in favor? Aye. Welcome, Bob. We're really grateful that you would sit on this board. And now approve revised town facilities use, collection fees, liquor amusement licenses, catering permits, and town office fees. This is. Where did I put them? All right. All right. So first thing is on our facilities use policy. I will move that we make a change to have it say that for Fort Madison, the town common and the Backshore Beach, if someone wants to use those areas of the town, we will charge residents $100 a day, non-residents $200 a day. And the fees can be waived for a town-sponsored event, for instance, the rec committee. And events held by nonprofits and request fees to be waived, and that will be approved by the select board. What is that? What do you think?
I thought that we had talked about the town common not.
We did, and that's why we put this part about fees will be waived.
For certain nonprofits,
Yeah, and for nonprofit
For nonprofits
and town sponsored events.
and residents.
We can change that.
That was just my understanding.
Yeah,
I may have misunderstood
change
that we were. I thought we were treating that differently.
I thought we went back because we were saying for things like Christmas tree lighting and stuff like that, that's kind of a town sponsored.
Surely, yeah,
Yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah.
want to charge for those things.
But we can add that these can be waived for residents for the town common.
And the other thing you can do is just review it on a case-by-case basis too.
We can do that. So if somebody comes in and they want to use the common, they can ask.
the policy, so you can suspend the policy under certain circumstances.
So, okay.
And then the other thing that I'll just point out real quick is that even though you specifically named those certain areas a town, because they're the most popular ones that we get the request for, this is for all town facilities.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, the lighthouse,
Yes, Fort George.
exactly. I
Sewer
mean,
treatment plant, if I wanna have a yard sale there or
Right.
something.
That's-
Yes, you are correct, all town, okay. All right, so does that make sense then if we add residents to that and it can be raised for residents? Then, yes, okay, all right, so I made a motion, is there a second? Second, okay, all in favor? Aye. All right, the next one is the policy for collecting fees for liquor, amusement, and catering licenses. And on this one, we will be changing our liquor license new applications to $150. A renewal liquor license application will be 75. The new amusement license applications will be 150 and renewals 75. And the application for a catering permit will go up to $25. And just so you know, most of these have not been changed since like,
Decades.
yeah, like 2012 was the most current thing that had been changed. And everything else was way before that, so. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for this one.
So moved.
All right, second, all in favor, or, all in favor, all right, discussion, good? Okay, all in favor, all right, good, we're good, all right. Now, the town office fee policy. We would like to increase, I will make a motion that we increase photocopies, the charge from 25 cents to 50 for a letter size, and up to 75 cents for a ledger. Color copies, $1. We left fax stuff. Well, we actually changed fax a little bit, didn't we? I think we pretty much left it alone.
I think we left it alone.
Faxes. Increased notary signatures to $5 for prepared papers, $10 for any other notary service, and increase a marriage ceremony from $50 to $100. And so it's been moved. Second, okay, is there a discussion? Okay, Derek,
Can we change the preforming to performing?
I guess we could.
Amy was gonna catch us.
I already caught it, but I was just gonna like, I'll see at the end of
Oh,
that.
okay, okay.
All right, on there, take that. Yeah, with performing, okay. All right. I think that was all of them. Did I go to the wrong one? Okay. So moving on. I'm so excited. Stone Fox Creamery put in their application to come back. I'm so happy. So. Do I have a motion to accept Stone Fox Creamery
Yeah,
mobile
motion.
vending
So moved.
application? Yay! And, I'll second. And is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. So happy.
You just wanna mention that they're saying their start date will be May 15th.
Yes.
And we'll be here for the entire season.
Thank you.
Very nice. Great.
Ice cream is my favorite.
And on a
thing.
side note, I'll just add that the salsa shack has been a nice addition in the last 5 days. I've gone down a couple times.
Yeah.
And, they seem to be
Yeah,
doing
they're,
well.
they're-
Lots of people were thanking them, asking them to come back from what I was hearing. That was a nice big area.
Right, yeah, I hope people got to go down and.
Yeah, a lot of people came down after graduation and.
And we are waiting another one to come in from Moody Dogs. I believe it.
All right. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is discussion regarding the Castine Harbor Bellevue. So many of you got, an email, because the US Coast Guard is looking at, and Xander, I might ask you to help, looking at replacing or taking out, but maybe replacing our buoy, our bell buoy. They decided
There are hundreds of
buoys.
buoys along the eastern seaboard of the United States Coast Guard is evaluating for function and efficiency.
Mhm.
So this is a call for public comment regarding the utility of that.
So if you have feelings about that or thoughts, please share them with the Coast Guard. If you would like to see our bell buoy go or stay, please share your thoughts with them. Was there anything else I needed to say about that?
Yeah, it's really oriented towards those who use the map. Is their comment.
Right.
I think there's probably no problem submitting any comment you want, but the ones that will weigh heavily is the discussion is that's an aid to navigation. So
Yeah.
those who are using the.
And I've heard from several
The lit ones,
residents.
it's the bell, mostly the lit and bell
Yeah.
buoys that are identified.
I've heard from several residents that especially when it's foggy, that bell buoy is a very important navigational aid.
Yeah, well, we're writing a letter in support of it.
We are too, so.
Yeah, we are.
So, and anybody else, please, please do.
And I think there are conversations happening up at the academy as well, because, as I understand, Xander, that bell buoy is part of some of the curriculum in terms
Wow.
of teaching students, which I don't believe the Coast Guard requires, so.
That's
It's one of those
interesting.
things. So anyways, but there are conversations looking at that as well, so that they can receive input from, hopefully from the educational side of things.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the community members will also likely be using the EG buoys, which are the ones over in Eggemock Reach. There's the whole map there of navgates that are being reviewed. So we use those lit buoys or bells, those are valuable to identify too.
Okay, thank you. And so the next thing on our agenda is updates from boards and committee, and we have Xander from the Harbor Committee today.
Well, it's, since the last update, I think, things continue to progress, so the docks went in last month. As well as the, town received for delivery its new boat. Which are all exciting for the new season. We have an ongoing process with a consultant on, the waterfront use. And they scheduled a second sort of community-based consultation on May 15th. So hopefully we'll have more input and attendance review from GA9.
Our next meeting is scheduled for May 21st. Here, all, where we sort of will review the preparation for the season as well as any plans for upcoming meetings in the summer. The deadline for the due date for any comment on the buoys is June 13th.
I'd like to thank the harbor committee for all the work that you did this year, when you looked at the fee structures and changed those around, and you guys have been doing a lot of work.
Yeah, well, we're continuing to try and build out a harbor plan
Yeah.
that is part of the requests of the comprehensive plan. And so some of those debates will be presented within the harbor plan as a means of continued support for the infrastructure found in the waterfront.
Well, we really appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
Well, we couldn't do it without Scott's help, so part of that.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the Xandra? For the harbor committee? Okay, thank you so much. All right, and it's time for the town manager.
Everybody's favorite. Everybody in the room, the thousands around the world watching on YouTube, I've been looking forward to this moment. Let's see, not gonna go through everything, you can read it later. Old Harbor Master Boat, so we have this old boat, we did have somebody make an offer, but whether or not we should sell it by sealed bid or sold outright is the question for this person. As I understand, it has a leak in the bow, so whoever does buy it needs to be aware that they need to do some fiberglass repair and some other work on it, so. Water Street Engineering got a meeting with Annalise from Alver this week to talk about some specifications for an RFP. So I believe, well, we do have 44,000 and we owe 25% of it for Fort Madison Engineering, so that's one of the things I want to discuss with her. But we also have $104,000. Looks like it's gonna be on its way for Water Street Engineering for that embankment, so it's been a while. Been working on that since I got here, finally got money for that. Hopefully we can pivot that, if there's money available one day, for a grant to actually fix it once some engineering is, because this will make it basically shovel ready. So just trying to get the logistics right for an RFP for that, put it together, so I figured I'd meet with her, and I wanted to discuss the retaining wall also that's on the first section of Main Street that apparently they've been looking at for a while. It has a little bow in it and discuss that, since that's new to me. Keeping with the water theme, but not Water Street, let's talk Water Department. So we have a grant that I need you to approve me signing the acknowledgement of programmatic requirements for $112,500 grant for a generator for our water department building over on Battle Ave. Our match share will be $37,500 for that, but that will keep our water running during emergencies. So there's that. Water Street guardrails, we discussed that. I've met with Greg Bowden and CA Newcomb. CA Newcomb will not put guardrails up on it right now. They say it's a waste, use barriers or something else. We've looked at some of the cost of the rocks. Rocks could be an issue, so we're looking at using some 2x2x4 stackable blocks as a possibility. This thing for a temporary fix is probably gonna cost us between 14 and 20 something thousand dollars. But the good thing is if we have the stackable blocks or we do Jersey barriers, whichever it may be, those will be assets that we can use for other jobs and other times once hopefully that $104,000 pivots into a grant to help fix it, because it's estimated to be $750,000 or more to fix that erosion issue. We now own the domain of CastineME.gov. They turned down Castine.gov. One of the things with that, we'll eventually use that for a new website for our emails. One of the things we'll have to do though is we'll also have to keep our Castine.me.us one for a period of time. I would suggest possibly 5 years. That's so nobody spoofs the town and pretends they're the town of Castine, because people have been used to it. So something to think about down the road in case I forget. You can remind me that we have to keep that domain name fresh, because all the emails that go there will also forward to us. Speaking of that, I will say that I continue to get people pretending to be employees or people from the community asking for gift cards or direct deposit changes and other things, so everybody in the community be aware. Make a phone call the old-fashioned way, talk to somebody before you give them your account numbers and everything else, because that could be a scam. Let's see. I'm gonna put out the part-time public works position here in the next week or so. Could actually be online this week, but in the paper next for that. Let's see. Lighthouse property lease, we need to discuss that topic. You need to either make a decision now or later. I see the gazebo design skipped up. Need to meet again on that. I did talk to Ted, I think it was last week, briefly on it. I will say that Scotty, there he is, good, you're back in the room. We did investigate cedar shakes and metal and everything else. We're thinking we're gonna have to go for asphalt shingles to make that affordable for both the gazebo and the harbor master shack. Otherwise, we could be spending 50% of our budget, 25–30% of our budget on just roofing. Haven't heard from DEP on the wells out on 166, where we provide the water from the old salt contamination from, I don't know how many years ago, 30 years ago now. The work down on Water Street, I think they got all the pipes in now. The sidewalk's gonna be done in the next week or so for where they had to bang that out to put in one of the service lines, and then paving will follow. So that seems to be ahead of the estimated schedule. Sweeping starts, I believe, Wednesday, and then we'll end up doing striping, eventually catch basin cleaning. Wildfire protection grant, this has become quite a project to even get it started. This is with all the peninsula communities on Blue Hill Peninsula. We've been negotiating the proposal with SWCA for the logistics and the specifications of what we're hoping to get out of that, and making some changes for that. Second public forum for the waterfront town dock study, Thursday, May 15th, 6 to 8:30. Get the word out. Hopefully you get a good attendance. That's gonna have some breakout sessions where people will be able to actually discuss what's important to them down there now, but also in the future. Yeah, I think it will become a good portion or a good part of that study, and also give us some good fodder for future grants if there are any out there. But it seems like Maine will possibly be on its own for some of these grant funds being raised out of state taxes, possibly rather than federal taxes. But we'll see how that turns out in the future. Let me mention that our CDS grant, I did talk to Senator King's office, and they said we had a very well-written grant. Hopefully that means it scores well, but will we get that budget, an actual federal budget? That's gonna be key to it, because anybody that got money in 2024 or had it earmarked never got it, because there was never a federal budget passed. Instead, they keep lifting the debt ceiling on a continuing resolution from the budget from 24 now. Or 23 carryover, really, I think is how that goes. Let's see, fresh off the press, the next ad hoc affordable housing committee. Well, I will say they met not this past Sunday, the Sunday before, for about an hour and 20 minutes or so. The next meeting will be on 5/21/25 at 5 p.m. in well, maybe in this room. I told them just book it, I'll find them a place to meet on that date. Since I have nothing in my calendar, I'm assuming there's nothing going on, but if not, they can meet in my office.
There was,
Yeah.
I can tell you later, but there was somebody who didn't get an email invitation to the first meeting that's on the committee.
Okay, let me know and I'll make sure they do. Let's see, ad hoc, early childhood education committee met last week on Friday. For about an hour and 15 minutes. I attended most of that meeting. They will be meeting again on June 3rd at 5 p.m. They all have some various assignments, interviews for people to discuss early childhood education on the peninsula. Not on the peninsula, on NEC, I guess, or out for all of Castine and in the area for that fact. Radar trailer. I will mention that they're working on fabricating the rest of it. It is together. It will work for what we need, but we need to get it together and figure out how to work it. And then town office will be closed tomorrow. I'll be around. I do have a doctor's appointment, but the ladies will be doing the final proofing on our town report, making sure it is perfect for everybody to be reading over the next month or so. Well, how long is it gonna be till it probably comes in, another week or two?
No, technically, they have to be available 3 days before town
Alright.
meeting. We typically ask for them a week before.
All right, so, all
We'll
right,
probably have them by the end of the month.
all right, good, all right, well, people will be looking forward to them, I am sure. Let's see, and also, Sue and Karen will be out of the office on Thursday for Maine tax collector treasurer training. So, and I will be taking vacation that day, that day, I've decided, with your permission, of course. Let's see, I do have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, that's why I'll be in and out, but we do have another meeting, of course, at 4, which he'll go over. Just a couple of important things coming up. 5/14 is the MMA Tech Conference. I'll be at that in Augusta. So Xander, I may not be joining you on the 14th unless I try to race back in time, and I don't know if that will happen. Let's see, I already mentioned the second public forum, Memorial Day. It was 5/26/25, mark your calendars. And I actually have FEMA training on the 28th and 29th, all day in Northeast Harbor. And that's both on coastal resilience and coastal data and something else. So something that Hancock County's putting on. And town meeting, of course, 6/7/25. And that's all I got for you. Any questions? Any questions from the people in the crowd? Seeing none, I didn't have my glasses on, so somebody said it could have gone up.
So you require a vote on what we wanna do with the harbor master boat?
Yeah, or have some discussion on that.
So,
And don't, if you know like the amount, I would appreciate you don't discuss the amount because if you go sealed bid, then
yeah,
we
I'm
don't
thinking
want
that
that getting public.
it might be more fair if we go to a bid and let several people have an option to buy it. So,
That's my information, just as a piece of town property.
sure, okay, so I'll make a motion that we do a sealed bid for the harbor master boat. So,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Okay. And then I will make a motion that we vote to give Derek authorization to sign the acknowledgement of programmatic requirements and any future paperwork related to it.
To the grant
For the
itself.
grant, for the $112,500 grant, and our matching part of the grant will be $37,500.
For the water department generator grant?
Yeah,
Mhm.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Derek, we need to vote on the lighthouse property lease at this point, or can we discuss that further before?
I think we can discuss it further, but don't forget, we're getting closer, so, like a decision just on whether we're gonna like offer,
How are we-
entertain renewals or if we're just gonna
Right.
rent it out, right? So,
Thank you.
Yep.
Other businesses required, I have none. No, okay. Communications. Alright, we have a communication from the University of Maine. University of Maine will be towing a research floating wind turbine weighing 375 tons. It is 56 feet wide and 111 feet tall, and the barge will be towed 5.5 nautical miles from Map Point in Searsport to just off Dice's Head, right?
She said
Oh,
places.
Oh.
I say places.
I say tomatoes.
And this will be happening on May 2nd, wait, it's happened already.
now, read in there a
Oh,
little
that's the
further,
day it
that
came
was,
out. That's the day
right,
it came out. I was
right,
like, wait,
yeah,
it
no.
already happened. No, it'll be happening between May 9th and May 16th. So if you're out on the water, please take care. And so this is the next step in the wind turbine thing. We started with the little one and they're getting bigger.
and there is a map, should
Yeah, and there's a
anybody
map.
want
If anybody wants
to,
to see it, we have a map.
the waypoints. It's gonna be a, 2 knots, so it's not exactly, I can't believe that floats at 375 tons, that's the scary part of it, right?
Okay, now we will acknowledge the members of the public and address their requests if any. If anybody has comments, yeah.
When Sean was talking about the amendments to the housing, authority, he, that refers to ancillary buildings, I believe. He mentioned that possible need for engineering studies to see if our water and sewer systems are up to capacity. Is that something that the town is required to do? Or is that something, I guess this is all around the state, new housing rules that we are supposed to comply with.
Right.
So I'm wondering, is that something that we need to do as a town to comply? And my other comment was that about a year ago, Kirk on the utility board told us that we probably don't have to do much because our systems probably won't be capable of.
Right, that we do have to comply with what was LD 2003, and I forget what it is now that it's an actual law. We do have to comply with that as far as allowing for people to put in permits for accessory dwelling units. But as part of someone getting a permit, we're going to have to look at what is the impact, especially on neck, to our water and sewer from those accessory dwelling units. And so,
Well, simply put, we may not have the capacity, but that's the reason that we can turn them down is for that, because there's certain streets, you're not gonna be able to do that and get the additional use without dropping the water pressure down on everything else.
That's what-
Something to
yeah,
that.
please.
Oliver Associates is an engineering firm and they also run both our sewer and water departments. They know what we have for capacity on every street because of essentially what's under the ground. So it's not really studies that they're gonna need to know, but Oliver's gonna know, like, there's some places that they know, the 2-inch line that is sold, that is taped up. There's a way that if you had 4 units down there, that's going to be able to handle that. So we're just gonna need to have Oliver involved in on any applications that we get to know that it's whether or not we can,
Yeah, thank
they
you.
can run on our system.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was. Perfect. All right, anybody else? Brooke?
I think, forgotten when because I wasn't here. There was after we talked about PFAS at the last select board meeting, there was a discussion about the Teflon tape that plumbers use around joints to seal them. And that has PFAS in it. Well, PFAS that we're dealing with in our well is PFOA. The PFAS that's in the tape is PAFE, I believe. So it's a totally different PFAS.
Okay,
It's, what we have in our water is not from the tape.
okay,
Period.
good to know, thank you, very much. Anybody else, Josh?
Yeah, I'm wondering if you have an update on the letter, the cautionary letter that you were gonna send out.
Josh,
to-
what we have for you is a comment that I was going to make during select board comments, but we have a comment that we are currently researching the state and federal regulations as they pertain to the responsibilities of the town of Castine concerning PFA and PFO chemicals. And when we have completed our research, we will discuss potential next steps and will inform all of you of our next steps. And we appreciate your patience in this matter because we can't do it overnight. We have legal concerns, we have all kinds of things.
So this was something you discussed with the town attorney.
We've been discussing it with the town attorney and we have specific research that we've all been given to do, and so we're working on it.
Okay.
So thank you though for bringing that up. Anybody else? Dawn?
I heard mention from Derek about a radar trailer.
Yeah,
Is that the one that tells people how fast they're going?
yes,
On Battle Avenue?
yeah,
And
well,
where-
not on ballot, it will
Or
be,
whatever we put.
it will be a road show
Wherever
once
you-
it gets going, right?
Curves.
Right,
And was the town gonna have a traffic calming wording contest, is what I heard?
We are.
yeah,
Has that been
Yeah.
announced yet?
Yeah.
We have signs up around town. There is a slogan there's one on the front door.
Passed it on the front door.
On the front door. It is a slogan contest. We have already received
Oh, a lot.
many slogans. They're quite good.
So there's an email to send.
So, send them in, and I apologize for this, but you send them to Sue, who needs one more thing to do.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, please send them to Sue, and the select board and town manager will be looking through them and choosing several really good ones, and then at town meeting, we will vote as a team on 3 that we like the best.
So make your submission.
Yes, make your submissions, start campaigning for them, okay? All right, anything else? Anyone else? No? Okay, so select board comments, did the PFAS statement, also wanted to remind people that last year when we did the mobile vending ordinance, we said, we passed it, but we kind of said we're gonna look at it, try it for a year, see how it goes. The first year seemed to be very successful, and now we're seeing actually more new vendors this year, so it seems like it's being quite successful. So for now, the select board, they're going to keep the mobile vending ordinance as it is, but we can relook at it at some point.
Yeah, I would welcome feedback
Yeah,
as well
please.
from residents.
Please let us know if the parking areas aren't working or where the trucks are isn't working, like, please give us your feedback. All right, and, oh, I have one last thing. Today is Municipal Clerk Day. So everyone should thank Sue Maycomer for the incredible work.
there's a reason I bought you lunch.
It's actually the whole week, so, feel free to bring it. Flowers, whatever, okay. Thank you, Sue, for all that you do.
That was nice, thank you.
All right, so our next meeting, we have a work session.
I don't know if that was, I heard you say you're gonna be
Yeah, I'm not gonna
gone,
be gone. We have a work session actually tomorrow,
right?
at 4 o'clock to talk about early childhood education in Castine. We don't have a work session Monday the 12th. We have a select board meeting Monday the 19th at 4 p.m. And town meeting is Saturday, June 7th at 8:30 a.m. neighbors and your friends about the GEI meeting on May 15th and come and give your input, because this is a huge study for what we want to do with our harbor, and we need your input on what to do with the harbor. And with that, I will make a motion. Then, oh, I'm sorry, Mark.
Prior to that 5:15, presentation by GEI, will their documents be available on the town website so that some of us can actually see what we're looking at? Because when we come to these presentations, they're almost illegible.
I don't think they have anything for this particular one, because this is part of like public comment input. I'll see if they maybe have some notes from the last one or different things that people had mentioned. But otherwise, this is not the final report public forum. There is a final public forum on the final report once they get to that point. So this is kind of
This one gonna be in person, Derek?
it is in person. If there are those people out there that can't make it, I will be doing a Zoom. But I'm going to warn them, if they join by Zoom, they're going to join a breakout session that's going to be the Zoom participants. So they don't get to just watch and leave. They gotta stay invested while the other breakout sessions are going on. We'll have an online breakout session too,
Great.
maybe two if there's enough people.
And this is one where in small groups, you can really start talking things through, and you can really, give opinions and
Right.
drill down into things, and you're not just having to make a comment in front of 40 people or something. You talk to your table and. All right.
And it will be Noel Musson that also does this thing, so everybody knows.
All right, anybody else? Okay, then I will make a motion that we enter into executive session pursuant to Title I MRS, Section 405(6)(e) to discuss a legal matter, and I thank you all for coming today.
Nay.
Second, all in favor? Thank you.